Good morning, everyone, again. A quick reminder at the beginning that we are recording this meeting. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Sylwia Słomiak. I represent Eurocities and the Prospect Plus team, and I work with you under the community of practice. Today, we have another meeting of our community of practice members, this time focused on crowd investing.
Thank you for giving me the floor, Sylwia. Indeed, I was a mentee in the Prospect Plus program, which was very, very useful, very inspiring. First of all, a short introduction, some facts and figures. Etterbeek is a municipality in Belgium. Belgium, you know, is a European country. And Brussels is the capital, and Etterbeek is actually one of the 19 municipalities of the Brussels region in the center of Brussels, as you can see here. We are a small municipality. Slide is not moving.
We can still see the map.
Yeah, me too. I click on the arrow and it doesn't go on.
Try with your keyboard, maybe, or with your mouse.
Trying. Let's move to the next one, like this. Not very orthodox. A few words about the municipality. We have a little bit less than 50,000 citizens. We are in the heart of the urban surrounding of Brussels, with a quite high density of population. And some facts. One of them is quite interesting, that the population is growing, not thanks to migration, to internal migration, because the internal migration is negative. This means that Belgians leave Brussels to go in the surroundings, in the suburbs. On the contrary, there is a very positive international migration. So there are people from other countries, essentially European countries, come to live in Brussels, and in Etterbeek in particular, due to, as you may know, due to the presence of the main European institutions, like you can see there, the European Parliament. So the two are balanced, international and internal migration, but still the population is growing, and this is finally due to the natural balance, due to the births. One other interesting fact is that our population is very, very international, again, due to the proximity of the European institution, embassies, and so on. We also have the headquarters of the NATO in Brussels, you may know. So in total, we have almost 1 citizen out of 2, which is not Belgian. This is very, very specific and particular, because not a lot of cities have that in their population. Of course, many of these foreigners are Europeans, and the first foreign community is the French. 60% of the households are single person, typically the young worker, the young international worker. This is much more than the Brussels average as a whole. Now it's working, the point. Just for you to know that our budget overall, our municipal budget annually, our operating budget is a bit less than 100 million, and our investment budget is a bit less than 20 million euro. And this investment budget is shared between different investment projects, like our administrative buildings, office buildings, also maintenance and renovation of schools, also have a local hospital, etc. As you can see, there is something strange in Etterbeek compared to the average of the other Brussels municipalities. It is because in the last years we have completely we've built a completely new town hall, which shows this quite unusual share of administrative, this important share of investment in administrative building. Now, this was the introduction. Let me tell you some words about our carbon issues, energy issues, etc. As everyone, as every city, we want to decrease our environmental footprint, and we want to decrease our greenhouse gas emissions for the municipality. The figures you can see here are quite typical for a Western city. So the main bulk, the most important part of our direct greenhouse gas emissions are from the buildings. And within that, you can see that only 2% is from our municipal buildings. A share of 20% more or less is for the offices, let's say, and a big part is the houses, private houses. And the rest essentially is mobility, cars, etc. So what can we do with that? A plan, strategy. And we've called it Carbon Budget of Etterbeek. And this is to basically tackle the challenges I mentioned in the slide before. Our goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by steps until the carbon neutrality by 2050, like the European the European Union wants us to do. And for that, our action plan includes 18 measures ranging from energy performance of buildings, both private and public. Also, issues on mobility. These are the two main issues, as you've seen before. But we don't neglect food issues, for instance, and other issues. So in total, our 18 measures are shared like this into categories. I will not go into detail because this is not the purpose of my presentation. Budget-wise, if we want to implement this carbon budget for Etterbeek by 2030, you can see that overall it is at the very low estimate 23 million euro. In fact, it will probably be much more. And the most important part of this budget goes to the renovation of our public buildings in terms of energy renovation. The rest is for operating budgets. Now, what are the sources of financing to do that? As a municipality, this is always the same. We can manage to get subsidies, funds and grants. This is part of the solution. We can also loan money at the bank. We can also levy taxes, of course, which is very popular, as you know. And we also have paying services like, for instance, the renewal of the ID cards. Citizens, when they do that, they pay us a fee, but this is not a lot. And finally, last but not least, because all what I just mentioned is not enough, in fact, to find 23 million euro in a few years. So we need other types of solutions, like innovating financing solutions, such as crowdlending, which is the subject of my presentation. A bit of theory to start with. Because before we implemented this crowdlending campaign that I will present you later, we've done a bit of research and investigation because it is something new for a municipality. And we were thinking, how can we use and how can we encourage small investors in the municipality, citizens, to lend or to give money to the municipality for its carbon budget plan. There is the first type of crowdfunding. The first category is what we could call participatory sponsorship. Basically, it is as simple as donations. Okay, like charity institutions can ask people, population, to donate, to give a bit of money. One of the interests for that is that the donors can benefit tax reduction in Belgium of 45% if they make donations, which is interesting. But unfortunately, not for a municipality, because to get this tax reduction, the institution to which you make your donation has to be registered as a charity institution, which is not the case by law for a municipality, unfortunately. Another option we have studied, we have envisaged, was the in-kind donation, sometimes called crowdsourcing. For example, when a local company performs insulation works at cost price. This was an option, but that we have not finally selected, because we don't expect that donation in kind or in money will levy a lot of budget for the municipality. Another option was what we called crowd equity sometimes, and basically it's about selling shares. So like a normal company or a cooperative. So those who invest in that project are co-owners. Thanks to their shares, they are co-owners of the project. One of the essential aspects of this is that once they have their share, they also take part in the governance rights of the project. They can, for instance, vote at the assemblies. But we didn't think that it was a good option for what we wanted to do at the municipality, because we thought it might become difficult to co-decide, to co-share the decisions all the times for our projects with a multitude of share owners in the population. Whereas sometimes this option can be very, very useful and very and great to implement. Now, finally, let's move to crowdlending. Which is the option that we have selected. Basically, crowdlending is simply the municipality borrows money from small investors in the population, preferentially in the local population, with a promise to repay the capital, the principal, and also with the promise to pay interests or not, because it is not an obligation. These interests rates can be fixed or variable, and actually this type of crowdfunding, called crowdlending, is covered by law, by a European regulation 2020/1503, and I will explain you a little bit about this regulation. In the past, this regulation about crowdlending was not accessible for municipalities because of the definition of what a project owner was. In the past, it excluded municipalities. Now it has changed since 2020, and public bodies, including local public bodies, are eligible to this regulation and can be considered as project owners. This is the first important development of this regulation, which allows us as Etterbeek municipality to start our project. The other change in this regulation, in this revised regulation, is the fact that now financing services which perform crowdfunding have to be registered, authorized by a superior authority, and in the form of a single European status allowed by national authorization, but covered by the regulation, by the EU regulation. And this actually protects the investor, because these companies, which are intermediary between the project owner, like the municipality, and the investor, the small investors. So this intermediary, which is a financial company, must accept a few obligations like transparency requirements, conflict of interest management, complaints handling, etc., etc. For you to know, in Belgium, as of April 2024, there were 7 such registered authorized companies in Belgium, and there were 50 in France. In other countries in Europe, I don't know, but there are a few. So what do we want to do with crowd lending in the municipality of Etterbeek? As I mentioned, but I repeat it here, we want basically to attract the interest of small investors, mainly the residents, mainly the inhabitants, the businesses, the shops in Etterbeek, those who are interested in local development. They give us their savings, and in return, we repay the capital, of course, and a reasonable interest over a set period of time. And the amount that we borrow from them is invested by the municipality in climate projects contributing to the carbon budget that I mentioned, such as typically energy renovation of public buildings. And to our knowledge, this is probably the first, this is for sure the first time that a local public authority has done that in Belgium, crowdlending, and possibly beyond Belgium also, but we may, in the discussion later, you may be aware of other projects that I don't know in your countries. The first step was to launch a public procurement to select a financial company who would do for us the intermediate body to launch the crowdfunding. But there's been a lot of discussions actually with our supervisory authorities because it was completely innovative and pioneering. And so we spent months in discussions with our partners, with our supervisory authorities, to make sure that it was it was okay with the law, what would be the possible problems, study all the options, etc., to make sure that we were that everything was fine and that all the lights were green before launching a public procurement to recruit financial partner. But finally, it's our supervisory authority, which is actually the Brussels region, said, okay, we've checked everything and you can launch your designation of financial partner. So the idea of this public procurement to design our crowdfunding service provider was to, the role of this entity is to connect the municipality with the investors in the frame of a framework agreement of 4 years. And during that period, actually, with this partner, the municipality can decide to launch one or more crowdfunding operations.
And now let's move on to Sanela, so we make sure she also has time to present her project, which was also partly inspiration for Jean-François.
Okay. So
Yes.
now I have the problem with okay, it's going on. So town of Križevci is a very small town in near Zagreb capital in Croatia. We have less than 20,000 inhabitants, but we are very known for our energy transition goals. And our mayor is very eager to make our city energy independent by 2030. So we had like 2 public buildings, 2 solar power plant installations, both 30 kilowatts. And the project was implemented 7 years ago. So these are our 2 buildings. As I said, 2 public buildings, development center and technological park. Was the first building, and we had like crowdlending campaign in 10 days. We collected 30,000 euros. Average investment was 566 euros. And we offered 4.5% interest rate on 10 years contract duration. So we have a monthly rent of 400 euros. That's the estimation of energy savings through solar power plant on the building. We have had minimum and maximum investments because we wanted to have as much as possible investors. And as also Jean said, we didn't want to have 1 or 2 big investors. It was the idea to test how citizens are willing to invest, how many we can have in the project. That's why we had like minimum and maximum. And on the second, it was a year later, our city library. It was a 2-day campaign with 40 investors, the same minimum and maximum amount, and pretty much the same average investment, but the interest rate was like 3% because the use of the produced electricity is not so good like in the previous building. But we have again a 10 years contract duration and a little bit lower monthly rate because the energy savings are also lower. It was a 23,000 euros investment. It's a little bit lower investment, although it's also 30 kilowatt of power plant. But in 1 year, and the prices were lower, so we have a little bit lower investment. But how this is working? So the city didn't want to have direct connection with the investors because of the administration, and it's not easy to take the money from the citizen. We didn't have any crowdfunding legislation. We still don't have our national regulation on this. So we have Green Energy Cooperative as a mediator between citizens, investors, and the city, actually the user. The user of the building is also the city companies, so entrepreneurship center in first case, and the public library is also owned by the city. So investors are giving microloans to Green Energy Cooperative. So it's a contract on 10 years. Your investment is secured because you have a contract that is obligation for Green Energy Cooperative. And Green Energy Cooperative has a lease agreement for equipment to user of the building. So the solar power plant is in ownership of the Green Energy Cooperative, and they are leasing it their equipment to the building, which is paying on monthly rent through 10 years to Green Energy Cooperative. As I already said, the rent is fixed on the energy savings estimation. And then Green Energy Cooperative is repaying loans to citizens on an annual basis. So we have this monthly repayment between user and project owner because of some kind of security that they will pay and that the Green Energy Cooperative will collect the money, and then on the annually basis to investors because of the administration and high costs if we would repay it every month. And what was the role of the city? They gave the permission to set up the power plant on the roof of the buildings in their ownership. They also gave public support for the project, and they were actively involved in the promoting of the project. Mayor was on all of the workshops with the citizens, and in all media. It was a first crowdfunding campaign in Croatia in such a way, and it was very popular. So everyone wanted to write about it. It was on all newspaper, on all TV shows, so very popular. But also the city took over payment of the rent in case the user will not be able to repay it. That was, I think, something that gave trust to citizens because it was secured that they will get the money back. And it was also logically because the city is owner of the building and also established the entrepreneurial center and the public library. Why was this a success? Such a success for everyone in the project. The main factor was the community engagement. Component. So Green Energy Cooperative connected also in the project Greenpeace, Energy Cities, regional energy agency. So it was very important to have the wide community to support the project. But also through the campaign, we worked with all NGOs in the city, with all the public institutions, with whoever we could engage in the project, in the promotion. 30% of the investors were from Križevci, so it was a national project because Green Energy Cooperative was not sure because it was the first time project in Croatia, and we were not sure if citizens are interested in such projects and investments. So we were talking about going national, but 30% was from Križevci, the city itself. It was a great promotion for the municipality as enabler that helped innovation to happen and engage public institutions and citizens in a joint process. It also opened the door to participation in several new projects, also for the city, but also for the Green Energy Cooperative. And in 2020, citizens from Križevci established their own local energy cooperative, so that they will be able to drive local energy transition on their own. It also increased demand for solar equipment, resulting in new solar businesses and new jobs creation in local community. After the project, now we have more than 200 household solar power plants installed. People are very interested to produce their own energy and to make savings. So it's also due to local energy cooperative clique that promoted this kind of projects and helped citizens to implement solar power plants on their rooftops.
Could you tell us a bit more about those barriers on the national level in terms of the regulations and how you went around it to make this project happen?
Yeah, so as I said, we didn't have and still don't have regulations on crowdfunding to use it in municipality projects. We don't have any national or local providers for such projects. So that's why we used a cooperative, because that is something that is regulated. As a cooperative, you can take money from citizens to investors and members and use it to finance whatever you want. So you have clear regulations there, and that's why this was the only model that we could use it in our project.
Jean-François, how did you go about ensuring that you would have this extra money to pay the residents back, not only what they paid, but also with the interest?
What I can tell you is that we certainly had a long checking discussion with our control authorities, because it was the financial authority, the regional finance authority, also the authority on public procurement, etc., to make sure that everything was secure and to make sure that we would be able, first of all, not to lose the capital money of the investors, first of all. And this is the reason why there is this European regulation. And then to be able to reimburse also the interest rates. And that was, we had to show that in our budget, in our accounting tables, there was this money set aside, etc., etc. Of course, in the end, the main source of financing for a municipality is the tax. So this is a bit strange, but the money for us to repay the capital and the interest of the residents is the tax of the residents themselves, because there is no other way for a public body. Full stop. But if you do so, you have the feeling, and the investor have the feeling, that their taxes are used in a good way.
And I'm also curious, Sanela and Jean-François, having your experience, would you have any recommendations for decision makers, both on the regional, national, and European level, to make this kind of project easier, maybe more profitable, easier for you to manage? There has been some positive regulatory changes, which Jean-François explained, but is there anything else that you would recommend happens to make it easier both for you and for those who have not started yet?
At least in the European context, as I mentioned, a very huge effort needs to be done for the private houses to make them more performant in terms of energy. So if the public sector, if the law, if the grants can focus on that, primarily, it would be a very good thing. Like, facilities, make it easy for the people to renovate their house in terms of urban permits, in terms of getting loans at a very low rate, in terms of getting subsidies, in terms of getting technical support, whatever.
And you also mentioned that under the current regulations, there needs to be an intermediary to secure the money. But if I understood correctly, it could have been easier for you if you didn't have to have this intermediary. Would that be something that you would like to get explored? Or do you think that this security aspect is really important enough to keep it as it is?
I believe that this regulation 2020/1503, which secures the money from the investors in a crowd lending campaign, is built for private investors, with the risk that the private investor can go bankrupt or can take a flight and escape in Panama, whatever. But this is not the case of a municipality. So I believe this regulation should have a special article saying that for public bodies, we are not obliged, or something that allows us to make our own to escape the obligation of this intermediary.
Yeah, well, I mostly agree with Jean, but also I think that we need to have maybe more, like, from state to state. There are different translations of EU directives, and I think that we need to work more on that, because we need to have, like, if we are having some EU directive, they should be like the same in every country, not different. But also I think that we need to have more utilization of private investments, should also be followed by tax policies. If we want for citizens and for companies to invest in local projects, I think that they should have some better taxes policies. But yeah, I think that as we are seeing this all the problems we have now within the European Union, I think that subsidies will be lower and lower. So we should be very prepared to use the money we have in our under the bed and in our socks, and to multiply it in the best way we can.